Japan never expected a pencil scratch in Pearl Harbor to unspool a 12-day disaster for its submarine screen. May 13, 1944, inside the Fleet Radio Unit Pacific. Headphones hiss and a codebook opens. Kana groups melt into English traffic from submarine I-16, a rice run toward Bougainville. Departure imminent. A watch officer slides the note across the desk. A destroyer escort group comes alive USS England, USS George, and USS Raby. The order is simple, intercept. The stakes are not. In the Central Pacific, submarines aren't just weapons, they're arteries. Cut one, and an outpost weakens. Cut a line, and a garrison starves. Japan has strung a picket from Truk to the Admiralty's 7 boats, including I-16 RO-104, RO-105, RO-106, RO-108, RO-116, and RO-117, tasked to warn of any move toward Palau or the Marianas. Tonight, a single decrypt turns that warning line into a target list, and a small escort named England steps into history. Quiet, calculated, inevitable. Engines hum at 23 knots, spray lifts, steel answers. We ride a Buckley-class hull, 400 tons in the swells, built for one-job hunt submarines. Lieutenant Commander Walton Pendleton leans over the plot. Bearings, wind, sea state. A quiet nod sends men to stations. 186 sailors fill tight compartments. Our tools are plain to the eye and ruthless in purpose. 2 stern racks feed depth charges by the dozen. Along the rails sit 8 K-guns that throw 300-pound cans 150 yards off either beam. But the focus is forward, just ahead of the bridge. 24 stubby barrels aim where our bow points. Hedgehog. A British idea. American steel. Depth charges detonate where you hope a submarine might be. Hedgehog detonates only when it touches one. 24 contact-fused bombs leave the spigots in a pattern like a thrown net. Each weighs about 65 pounds, with a core of high-energy Torpex. No bloom of wasted water if we miss. No thunder to blind the sonar. We keep listening, adjust, and fire again. Our executive officer, John Williamson, lives in numbers. Cambridge-trained, quick with triangles and time of flight. He sketches attack angles on a card table that never stays still. In water. Sound travels about 800 feet per second. The pencil taps. Bearing, range, target motion. In this war. Geometry kills. Across the horizon, a different routine unfolds. Inside submarine, I-16 Lieutenant Commander Teiuchi Yoshitaka checks a simple, manifest rubber sacks of rice bound for Bougainville. A supply run is supposed to be quiet work. It rarely is. On the surface. A boat makes batteries and miles. It also makes a radar echo. Submerged. The boat survives. It also slows and drowns its air. Diesel-electric design imposes that bargain on every crew. We spread into line abreast George to port, Raby to starboard, England in the center. The formation is old and effective. Sweep, wide water. Close, fast on contact. Our SG surface search radar paints clean arcs. The QC sonar sends disciplined pings into a calm sea. Flat water helps us. Few temperature layers tonight. Little to bend sound or hide a hull. Sonarmen rotate in short. Strict shifts. Ears rest, then work. David Chun settles the headset. Shoulders square against the bulkhead. The drill never changes. Rotate the transducer a few degrees. Ping. Count the seconds. Listen for the metallic echo that doesn't belong to whales, shrimp, or a confused school of fish. Reset. Repeat. Patience is a tactic. He calls out conditions in clipped phrases, bearing, strength, possible Doppler. The sound-powered phone carries it to the bridge. We move. Rudder answers first. Then, the throttle. We slide to hold the echo at dead ahead. The room quiets, because quiet helps you think. Hedgehog crews set fuses and check safeties with the economy of habit. Below. In I-16, a hydrophone operator hears what we send back through Shuru. Papertesatis massi combatis andeiti. Asian. The pattern is unmistakable. Sonar pings mean a surface ship has found geometry. Yoshitaka orders the dive. Valves vent. The bow dips. Water rushes into ballast at a rate you feel in your knees. Periscope depth comes fast about 3/4 of a minute. 100 feet arrives a little after 2. Up top. We mark the clock and the last known course. Every second matters because every second changes where a submarine might be. The bridge team trims our speed, keeping contact crisp on the scope. We can't see the target, we can see where the math says it will be. There is no bravado in this work. Only systems that link human attention to simple machines. Radar to find, sonar to fix, hedgehog to finish. The ocean is wide, the window is small. Tonight, the physics favor the patient. We hold contact and build a picture from fragments. Bearing settles, range tightens. Executive Officer John Williamson bends over the chart and starts the math. Target making about 8 knots, track shifting southwest, likely toward Bougainville. Depth unknown. Call it 1 to 200 feet while evading. Our weapon likes precision. Its reach is roughly 270 yards. Accuracy depends on putting steel where the hull will be, not where it was. He talks in numbers, not drama. Sound in seawater travels near 800 feet per second. Ping to echo, echo to plot, plot to firing solution. We steer to keep the contact dead ahead. Hedgehog crews stand by. 24 spigots, 24 chances. Contact fuses only. First run, 1341. We shoot a full pattern, a 40-yard spread, the bombs arc, then stitch the surface and sink at about 8 feet per second. We listen. Nothing. No hard detonation. Only quiet water. A clean miss. No rolling thunder to blind the set. That is the point. We still have the target. Williamson resets. If we missed. The submarine likely went deeper, maybe using a thermal step near 150 feet to smear our picture. We tweak course and speed. The bridge is hushed. A room built for arithmetic. Second run, 13:58. Fire. One dull thump comes back through the hull, felt as much as heard, a graze or a partial. The contact slows, but it does not die. Sonar reports faint grating noises, metal on metal somewhere below. Bearings wander. The boat still answers her helm. We set again. Third run, 14:10. The solution assumes 200 feet after the attack. The fathometer tells a colder truth. The submarine had dropped far deeper, around 325 feet. Our bombs rained harmlessly above her wake. Whoever drives I-16 knows his trade. He plays every advantage a diesel-electric can buy in a few urgent minutes. The hydrophone party likely counts our pings, marking the rhythm of our approach. He throws the rudder hard. He adjusts ballast. He changes depth by quick bites. Standard drills, practiced 1,000 times, now measured in heartbeats. Fourth run, we commit. And the contact slides out of our pattern at the last moment. No detonation, no debris, only the steady tick of seconds. And the knowledge that each tick changes the target's possible position. We refuse frustration. We measure again. 14:33. Williamson calls the numbers without flourish. Bearing 170, range 400 yards. Estimated depth 250 feet. He folds in the propagation delay, the target's likely turn rate, and the energy cost of constant evasion. The helm steadies. The bow points like a compass needle. Shoot. The pattern leaves in a heartbeat. 24 shapes vanish into green. The ship seems to hold its breath. Then the ocean answers. 4. Maybe 6. Hard contact blasts climb through the keel. The fantail jumps. Men stumble. then grab steel and steady themselves. Below, a pressure hull has opened to the sea. Inside, I-16 forward spaces fail first. Water finds seams and winds. Lights flicker and go dark. A boat that once chose her depth now has it chosen for her. Bow down, angle increasing. 3 miles of Pacific wait beneath. We circle at reduced speed. 20 minutes drag out. Wreckage rises at last. Life preservers with Japanese markings. Loose planks. A widening stain. The contact fades to silence. One crew is gone. Another exhales. Quietly. Back in Pearl. Codebreakers have more than one card to play. Records show a second decrypt on May 20th, describing a picket line of 7 submarines, RO-14, RO-105, RO-106, RO-108, RO-109, RO-112, and RO-116, strung between Truk and the Admiralties, meant to flag any American move toward Palau or the Marianas. Admiral William Halsey had crossed that corridor before. Admiral Somu Toyota counted on it to warn of the next attempt. The plan assumed hunter-killers could find a boat, not a line. Escort Division 39 receives its orders sweep west to east, 3 destroyer escorts against 7 submarines, on paper. The odds look fair for Japan. Paper does not include Hedgehog, patient sonar, or the way disciplined arithmetic turns echoes into wreckage. Dawn begins with a bright blip, 03:50, May 22nd, USS. George paints a surface contact at 8 miles. A low shape is charging batteries, necessary, risky. Searchlights knife the dark. The outline flashes silver. 5-inch mounts traverse, but the target is already going down. RO-106 crash dives in roughly 38 seconds. Too late to hide its trail. Course and last position are enough. We close. 04:15. George makes the first Hedgehog run. Pattern out. Nothing back but quiet water. Below. Japanese hydrophone men likely hear the projectiles enter and react. Hard rudder. Change depth. Kill speed. The boat settles near 200 feet and slides away from the fall of shot. 04:25. England regains the echo. John Williamson has tuned his method since I-16. Measure propagation time. Estimate depth from return strength and layer behavior. Fold in evasion speed and turning radius. Then project where the boat will be 60 seconds ahead. Not where it was when you pinged. First, run, miss. The line is tight, but not true. He recalculates. Bearing drifts a hair. Speed changes by a knot. Set fuses. Reset nerves. 05:01. Fire. This time, the ocean answers hard. 3, maybe more. Contact blasts step up through our hull. A geyser punches the surface off the bow. A column of water, braided with darker fragments. RO-106 has been holed in several compartments. Emergency ballast work fails. Stern drops first, then the bow follows. 59 men do not return. 2 submarines in 4 days. Radio, watchstanders across the theater hear the pattern. American escorts are not stumbling into targets. They are building them from echoes and timing. Then finishing them with a weapon the patrol line has not met at scale. The technology stack matters. Air search and surface radars can catch a recharging boat at well over 10 miles under good conditions. Sonar properly handled can hold contact through mild layers and light current, especially on calm seas like this morning. But the decisive change sits forward, not aft. Traditional depth charges force an attacker to pass over the target and drop astern during the run-in. Sonar contact is lost beneath the bow. The submarine turns or changes depth in the blind interval. When charges go, the ocean roils. Turbulence and bubbles mask the water for long minutes. A second precise attack is difficult. Hedgehog flips the geometry. Projectiles fire ahead of the ship while sonar is still locked. If we miss, nothing detonates, the water stays clear, the set stays readable, and a follow-up run begins immediately. Contact fuses also prevent false optimism. No bang means no hit. A bang means steel on hull. The line between Truk and the Admiralties was meant to warn Japan of fleets. This morning it warned England where to point her bow, and it showed every boat listening that patience, sensors, and a simple mortar could unpick a picket line, one echo at a time. RO-104 appears next third boat to meet the hunter-killer group. Just after dawn on May 23rd, USS Raby snaps a radar contact a small target on the surface, roughly 250 nautical miles north-northwest of New Ireland. The submarine is doing what diesel electrics must, charging. Its detector works. She dives within about 45 seconds, but 45 seconds is long in fire control time. Course, speed, and dive point are fixed onto a moving plot. Raby attacks first. 4 Hedgehog runs between 06:17 and 07:15. Patterns out, water quiet. The Japanese commander answers with a full bag of tricks. Short, tuned sound bursts to clutter our sets, random course changes, depth swings from 50 to 300 feet, bursts of air to throw false echoes. It buys moments, not safety. 07:17. USS George joins. 5 more runs, still no contact detonations. The boat rides the currents, seeks thin temperature gradients, and keeps screws at a whisper. Ballast is worked carefully to trade depth without cavitation. It is a disciplined defense, and it costs energy with every minute. 08:19. USS England holds contact while John Williamson writes a different kind of solution. Not just where the submarine is heading, but how long she can afford to keep evading. After 2 hours, batteries draw down and air flasks run low. Evasion must ease or systems will. He projects the boat's most likely position 1 minute ahead, assuming conservation. Not sprinting, we turn, steady, and commit. 08:34. 24 contact-fused bombs leave the spigots and bracket the predicted box. Seconds stretch, then the hull shutters 10, maybe a dozen hard hits walking across a pressure cylinder. Flooding rips through the engine room and forward battery spaces. Automatic ballast responses kick in and fail. The stern sags. 3 minutes later. Another shock rolls up secondary ruptures as compressed air bottles give way. The sea answers with a tall column and darker fragments beneath. We widen the circle and wait. By 10:45, wreckage breaks surface oil, splinters, the unambiguous signs of a boat lost. All 58 crewmen are gone, 3 submarines in 5 days. The math behind that result is stark. Early war depth charge attacks produced low single-digit success per attempt. Improving as tactics matured, Hedgehog changes the geometry and the feedback loop. We fire ahead, keep sonar contact, and know the truth of each attack, no bang, no hit, so corrections are immediate rather than guessed. The effect is tactical, not magical disciplined bearings, careful layer reading, and patient follow-ups. Yet numbers only tell part of it. Radio watch stations hear the pattern across the line from Truk to the Admiralties. Commanders who once trusted speed, layers, and decoys now face a weapon that punishes misses with silence instead of self-inflicted noise. Some messages begin to ask for repositioning or withdrawal to safer waters. The picket is still there on the chart, in the water. One more point of warning has been erased. Speed over stealth is a wager. RO-116 takes it and loses. 01:20, May 24th. USS George paints a surface contact at 8 miles. The target runs about 12 knots, heading toward the eastern end of the picket. Batteries need charge, diesel needs air. The ocean also gives radar returns. We turn the formation. England slides to the center lane. 01. 50 sonar finds the wake of a dive. The Japanese crew executes a clean crash dive in roughly 35 seconds. It is sharp seamanship. It is also too late for anonymity. Williamson has updated his template after I-16 and RO-106. Measure propagation delay, read layer behavior, estimate depth by return strength and Doppler drift. Fold in a submarine's likely turn rate under emergency rudder and the energy cost of constant maneuver. Aero 214. First Hedgehog run on RO-116. 24 contact-fused bombs go forward in a tight net. We count the seconds as they fall. The ocean answers with 3 or more hard detonations. Not a geyser, not fireworks. Just heavy, certain thuds that climb through the keel. Damage control on newer boats is better than early war models. It still cannot reverse multiple holes below the waterline. Sonar hears a submarine failing in stages. Bulkheads complain. Venting roars as the crew tries to trade air for buoyancy. Bearings slow and wander. A sign of limited helm. Flooding reaches the engine room. Shaft noises roughen, then fade. For 20 minutes. The set carries the sounds of a hull losing decisions to pressure. Then silence. RO-116 slips stern first and keeps going. 56 men do not return. 4 submarines in 6 days. The number travels faster than any ship. Word moves up the chain. Senior commanders ask for method, not myth. Admiral Chester Nimitz wants the after-action detail procedures, timings, layer notes, fuse settings. Admiral Ernest King looks down the inventory line. He begins pushing for broader refits, more escorts with forward-firing mortars, better sonars, steadier training cycles. The hunt is still on. Japan sees the pattern forming. Intelligence shops listen to radio air. Orders flow, keep radio silence where possible. Avoid surface running except under extreme need. Concentrate boats for mutual support. A line meant to warn of carriers is learning it must first survive escorts. May 26 brings a relief package to the grid. A hunter-killer group arrives with the escort carrier USS Hoggett Bay and 4 Fletcher-class destroyers. Our 3 destroyer escorts have worked 8 days straight. Ammunition and fuel are thin. Standard practice would send us back to replenish and rest. Commander Hamilton Haynes asks for one more sweep on the way out. Command agrees. Intercepts point to RO-108 nearby, possibly moving to rendezvous before a withdrawal. Nightwater is cooperative calm. With light layers, 23 or 04. England takes a clean sonar contact at 1,500 yards. Target speed reads near 8 knots. Course trending southeast. The boat is submerged but shallow. That buys speed while conserving battery and air. Williamson builds the solution fast. 3 minutes from first echo to firing data. He estimates depth near 120 feet. Based on return character and the mild layer profile, course remains steady. Either the Japanese commander has not sensed us, or he wagers he can outrun the geometry. 23. 23. We fire. 24 shapes vanish into the dark. This time the reply is immediate and unmistakable. Several contact blasts step up through the hull, followed by a heavier, rolling concussion. The surface flashes with phosphorescence and torn bubbles. For a few minutes. Emergency lights far below cast a ghostly smear. Then they die. 5 submarines in 8 days. No speeches on the bridge. Only a reset of the board and the quiet work of logging bearings. Fuel and lessons. The patrol line between Truk and the Admiralties is thinner by another point. 1 target remains, and momentum favors patience backed by sensors and a simple mortar that lets us keep listening while we strike. RO-105 is no soft target. Lieutenant Junichi Inouye commands her. Aboard as a passenger is Captain Ryan Suko, leader of Submarine Division 51. The boat is a late 1943 build from Sasebo. Tight and modern. Her crew has history. The previous summer she juked 2 torpedoes from USS Tarpon. Weeks later, she fired at the light cruiser Columbia and missed when the American ship maneuvered hard. She has also pulled downed aviators from contested water around the Solomons and New Guinea. Experience lives in this hull. Japanese Sixth Fleet intelligence has been listening. Intercepts sketch the rough whereabouts of England and her consorts. Orders go out, avoid engagement. Withdraw to truck for refit and crew relief. Fuel and batteries argue back. To escape quickly, a diesel-electric must spend time on the surface where aircraft and radar hunt. That is the trap. May 29 to the 21, the 30. USS George spots RO-105 on radar, a low shape in motion. Running on diesels. Lights stay dark. The decision is immediate. I crash dive. The boat slides under in seconds, but we now hold course and last position. The battle begins, and it will not be brief. Night turns into a ledger of runs. George attacks with Hedgehog again and again. Patterns fall. The water answers with silence. RO 1105s. Captain fights with a full toolkit. Every 3 minutes. A sharp rudder order. Depth changes between 60 and 300 feet. Silent running to starve cavitation, short bursts of compressed air to seed false returns. The boat is not only hiding, it is shaping what we hear. Dawn. May 30th. Raby joins and spends what she has left. Still no contact detonations. The Japanese crew keeps its nerve. Ballast tanks are worked to change trim without noisy pumps. Screw revolutions sit a whisker above stall. Acoustic decoys appear at the worst moments, pulling our pattern off by just enough. It is a masterclass in survival under pressure. Commander Hamilton Haynes has kept England in reserve. Doctrine says you preserve your most lethal unit for the next fight, not burn it out in this one. 24 hours pass without a kill. Ammunition on George and Raby is thin. Bearings wander and return. The sea grows quiet, the kind of quiet that makes decisions. 07. 36. A short transmission cuts through the net. Go ahead. England. We slide onto the contact and stabilize the line. John Williamson has watched RO-105 for a full day. He knows her cadence now, the depth bites, the turn rates under emergency rudder, the moments when evasion must ease to save battery and air. He writes a solution that assumes conservation, not sprinting target depth near 200 feet, course generally southwest, speed reduced. Hedgehog crews set fuses, safety calls pass along the rail. We fire. 24 contact-fused bombs leave the bow arc in a pattern tight to the prediction. Seconds draw long, then the ship lifts under our boots. 6, maybe more. Hard hits walk across a steel cylinder below us. Water does the rest. 5 minutes later, a heavier concussion rolls through. Compressed air systems rupture, compartments flood together, oil and fragments rise in a rough boil, then spread. The contact fades from the screen because there is no longer a hull to return sound. Captain Ryan Suko is among the 55 men lost with RO-105. What passes on our bridge is not celebration. It is quiet work logging times. Bearings, fuse, settings, sea, state. The 7th Submarine Squadron's last boat is gone. A picket meant to warn of fleets has been unpicked by patience, arithmetic, and a forward-firing mortar that lets you listen while you strike. 6 submarines in 12 days. No other Allied escort managed that streak in the Pacific. USS England didn't simply win a duel. She broke a system. A picket line meant to warn Japan of carriers became a string of vanishing echoes. The result shaped how both sides fought the rest of 1944. Admiral Ernest King later promised, "There will always be an England in the United States Navy." In 1960, the name returned on a guided missile destroyer. The sentiment fit the moment, but the deeper lesson reached far beyond one ship's record. A destroyer escort, modest in tonnage and cost, had shown how sensors, arithmetic, and a forward-firing mortar could pry open a theater-level plan, strategically. The loss of the 7th Submarine Squadron mattered more than the count of hulls. Japan's high command had built its Central Pacific awareness on diesel-electric scouts spread between Truk and the Admiralties. Their job was simply for Zaten the spot bought a cylinder, bought a bovo, FO. As but a fanaits report by radio, then stab at bat, then harass. When those ears were removed. Admiral Soemu Toyoda's intended decisive operation, often referred to as AGO, entered the summer with blurred vision, without reliable reconnaissance from the picket. Japanese operational timing slipped. American carrier groups could move with fewer surprises. Records suggest this intelligence shortfall fed into the lopsided results at the Philippine Sea weeks later. Correlation is not causation, but the linkage is hard to ignore. Technically, the campaign closed an era early in the war. Depth charges were the default. They were numerous, simple, and too often indiscriminate. Industry produced hundreds of thousands between 1941 and 1945, a vast investment that kept convoys and task forces in the fight. But numbers alone could not defeat geometry. Depth charges forced the attacker to run over the contact and then lose sonar in the bow's blind arc, if the submarine jinked or changed depth in that bracket of time. The pattern fell behind reality. Worse, the blast churned the water and deafened the set for minutes. England's weapon changed that logic. Hedgehog fired ahead of the ship while the ping still painted the target. If it missed, nothing exploded, the water stayed clear, and the next run began immediately. If it hit, it was unmistakable, a hard, metallic truth stepping up through the hull. Wartime British trials and fleet experience suggested the single-attack success rate of Hedgehog far outpaced depth charges. Most historians agree that the forward-firing mortar consistently turned contact into closure faster and with fewer wasted attacks. The device did not make hunting easy. It removed the moments when physics favored the hunted. Psychology followed physics for 3 years. Many submarine captains kept faith in a familiar playbook: dive fast, ride a layer, vary depth, change course on the attacker's blind pass, then use turbulence to escape, against Hedgehog and disciplined sonar. That playbook lost pages. Word of England's run traveled. Sources describe commanders asking to shift stations or withdraw toward safer waters. Confidence, the margin between a bold approach and a cautious retreat, thinned. Signals intelligence framed the fight from the start. Fleet Radio Unit Pacific did not sink a single boat, but its decrypts turned an ocean into a map with pins. Knowing about I-16's Rice Run set the opening trap. Learning the picket's distribution turned a patrol into a sweep, in a theater measured in thousands of miles. Shaving mere hours of uncertainty off a search box was decisive. Most historians argue that no amount of sonar skill can compensate for ignorance about where to look. Frupak supplied the where. Human method joined machine advantage. John Williamson's bridge math is remembered because it worked and because it traveled. He formalized what experienced hunters intuited: propagate the sound, measure delay, estimate depth from returns and layer behavior, fold in likely turn rates and energy costs, project a position 60 seconds into the future, not the past, the ping saw. Post-war analyses indicate that versions of this schema spread quickly across Pacific ASW units. Submarine hunting shifted. In part, from instinct toward repeatable procedure, the human cost sits cold on the ledger. Roughly 400 Japanese submariners were lost in this 12-day window. They were trained specialists in a navy that could no longer replace experience at pace. Each crew represented years of practice in navigation, signals, maintenance, and submerged operations is my American side, England, George, and Raby reported no combat deaths or wounds during the hunt. That asymmetry was not only technology, it reflected training pipelines, doctrine drilled into crews, and the compounding advantage of fighting on the front foot with good information. By late May 1944, the Imperial Navy's submarine arm was already shrinking. It began the war with several dozen fleet boats. By spring 1944, fewer than 30 remained operational. To lose 6 more in less than 2 weeks while yards delivered replacements at about 1 per month turned arithmetic into attrition, even if a few boats survived engagements. The trend line pointed down. Submarines shifted from offensive patrols toward supply runs and last resort reconnaissance. The initiative moved elsewhere. Sensors kept widening that gap. American radars could catch a recharging boat at double-digit miles under decent conditions. Sonar sets, refined in hardware and in training, held contact through mild layers and light current. Crews learned to read the ocean's temperature steps and surface states as part of the firing solution. Not superstition. The QC sets aboard England were not miraculous. They were good enough in the hands of men who trusted measurement more than myth. Production and training made the edge durable. The United States did not just build weapons, it built schools. Sonar men cycled through courses that taught pattern recognition and fatigue management. ASW teams practiced ping-plot predict drills until reactions read like ritual. Experience from the Atlantic moved to the Pacific through briefings. Pamphlets, and officers rotated between theaters. Industrial scale met institutional learning, and both accelerated. The legacy is visible in later doctrine. Navies worldwide studied forward-firing mortars, improved contact fuses, and the concept of attacking while maintaining positive sonar control. They folded in air-surface coordination routines honed by hunter-killer groups, and they codified math-driven attack planning rather than relying on feel, in that sense. England's 12 days compressed a generational change from courage plus chance to procedure plus probability. There's a temptation to tell the story as inevitability. It was not. Calm seas helped. Layers were modest. The picket line's radio discipline sometimes wavered. American crews had the fuel, spares, and rest cycles to keep performance high, and records differ around the margins timings. Exact attack counts, the interpretation of some explosions. Good history keeps those uncertainties on the table. What remains solid is the shape of consequence. The picket between Truk and the Admiralties withered. Carrier groups faced fewer unseen eyes. A theater that had punished rashness now rewarded speed. Weeks later, over the Philippine Sea, Japan's air arm met a U.S. fleet able to maneuver without the same submarine tripwires. The outcome there depended on pilots, radar, fighter direction, and many other factors, but the absence of submarine reconnaissance did Japan no favors. England never repeated the run. Few ships could. Circumstances do not align on demand. Still, her name became shorthand inside the Navy for what happens when simple weapons are paired with disciplined crews and a clear idea. Not glory, not spectacle, a method that turns echoes into decisions, and decisions into outcomes. For viewers who found this story through the hook, Japan never expected a pencil scratch to break a picket line. The value isn't the boast. It's the blueprint. Intelligence shrinks oceans. Sensors feed math. Weapons that keep you listening between shots close the loop. Training turns all of that into muscle memory. Do it right, and a dozen days can pry open a campaign. Sources and notes. Selection. Naval History and Heritage Command. NHHC, H-gram briefs on USS England in 1944, Central Pacific operations for engagement sequence and context. Combined Fleet Com, tabular records of movement I-16, RO-104, RO-105, RO-108, RO-116 for Japanese movements and losses. Nav Weeps ASW entries on Hedgehog and Contact FE,